if your house was on fire and you had to save one thing, but it can't be your pets and it can't be your family. It has to be an actual physical item.
So Lara and my dogs have to die.
No. They're already out of the house.
Are they a safe distance away?
Yes.
We have a family fire plan.
Okay, let's just pretend Laura and the dogs went on a trip to Hawaii without you.
She would never.
Well, you betrayed her, so
what would I
she
grab?
left you.
Oh, man. That's tough.
It's got to be one item, though. Like something very either valuable money-wise, if you're looking to make a buck.
I don't own anything valuable, so.
I don't really either. Or it's got to be like, or it's really important to you. Like, you got any family albums?
I'm trying not to step on a landmine here, because if you ask Lara this question, she would immediately have an answer, and I hope our answers are in line.
I'm giving you the straight truth.
Okay.
I would grab this, my laptop.
Yeah.
Because you can't get another. Question. You can't get another laptop.
But like
all the stuff's on there.
But do you have a cloud?
Save it.
Do you have a cloud?
Yeah, sure, but it's a pain.
Okay.
The house is on fire. I got to grab something.
To be
quick.
fair, that's also a very like middle-aged man answer. Because he's like, nothing's saved. It's all in the cloud. Probably.
I know. It's fine.
Roast.
I don't want to go through the hassle of uploading a new computer.
Okay.
Going to the Apple store.
That was the first thing I thought of.
That's fair.
Because what else would be in there that you would take?
Okay.
Maybe my pillow.
Also, I gotta clarify my question. This is a question about my own question. Because like, can you save like a backpack that already has stuff in it? Or does it have to be one single
You're
item?
talking yourself out of your own question.
No, I'm talking myself out of my own answer.
All right, Peter, what's your answer?
Lara's dad's ashes.
Oh.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we have his ashes.
That's a good one.
On top of it is
a really good one.
The flag that he got for his time in the Navy. So that would be my answer. Because I can go to the Apple store and get another laptop.
I understand that, you guys.
Maybe Tony doesn't have ashes in his house.
I can go to the pillow store and get another pillow. Pillow.
I tell you all the time, my wife, I'm like, it's backed up. Your phone is backed up. You're fine. It's not. I don't trust that. I'm like, okay. Every time you buy a new phone, I back it up and it works.
Do you know where everything of yours is saved?
What do you mean?
It's on your desktop.
I know. It's fine.
So, okay, after this, we'll sit down. I'll get you some Metamucil, and we will put everything into one folder, and we will back that folder up.
We're good. My desktop gets backed up. I'm good. God. Kayla, what about you?
Does not get backed up.
There's like two things I'm thinking. I was gonna say like my backpack with my camera in it, but that's like a lot of items. So does that count?
Look at that. Look at that. Desktop, iCloud. Thank you, Tony, for the win. What was yours? Backpack?
Does my backpack with all my camera items in it count? Or do I have to pick out one of my camera items? Because that's like 15 grand.
I think the better question would be, what would we save for each other? And I would save white acrylic pens for you.
You'd save them from the fire instead of just buying me $2. Nope. Actually, you know what I would save? I'd save the 30 by 25 drawing that took me 55 hours to draw.
You would save that? Yeah, that's good.
I would.
That's good. I like that.
Can't back that up.
I can't back that up. I also have insurance for my camera, so it'd be fine.
Be fine.
Do you really?
Yeah, I have small business insurance because I have like 20 grand worth of camera equipment. That's called being a responsible adult. Peter.
Did you ever leave your door unlocked too?
We'll give you both Metamucil and talk about insurance.
You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. Cause it get cold like Minnesota. Cold like Minnesota. Cold like Minnesota. Cold like Minnesota. Need to stay up out the streets if you can't.
Welcome to 10 Minutes. I'm Tony Scott. I'm joined with Peter Odney today. How are you doing today, Peter?
I'm here.
You are here. You're alive. You're kicking. Are you kicking?
I don't kick very much.
Okay, what do you do?
I did play 2 years of varsity soccer, though. So.
Oh, wow. What a show-off.
Yeah.
What a show-off.
You didn't do that.
No, I did not.
You played varsity horseshoes or
I
something.
played golf.
Other country club sports.
Yes, I did. And ice hockey. Let's talk about what you did last weekend on your weekend off of the rink. We're going back to the rink to Moorhead this weekend for the
What did I
Blacks.
do
What
last
did you do?
I don't remember. Wait, like the weekend that just ended?
The one that just ended, 3 days ago. What did you do? Anything exciting?
No.
I went to St. Cloud State
What did I
and saw
do?
Boston College play. That was a fun team to see play. Wow. And then I saw Augustana traveled to University of St. Thomas and saw that new burgeoning program defeat St. Thomas. So it was fun. It was kind of like the new kids on the block between those two schools.
Now that you mentioned St. Thomas, I went to a booyah at
Really?
St. Mary's in downtown St. Paul, little Catholic parish. My friend Joe
Really?
was running a booyah. It's all for a good cause. I did not.
Was it any
win-
good?
I did not win the raffle.
What is a booyah?
Oh, my gosh. You don't know what a booyah is?
I've never heard that.
It is where hundreds of white people get together and
Wow.
eat hot stew.
Soup or stew, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that's actually what it is. It's been around for hundreds of years now, and originally I think it was the Germans and Scandinavians who would come
Yeah.
together at their local parish, and they would make a stew of carrots and beef and gravy
And
and
eat
all
together.
that good stuff, and they would eat together. And now it's kind of a dying tradition, but my friend Joe is trying to prop it back up. So I went to a booyah.
You can have a booyah, and then
That's what I
and
did.
at a booyah, then you pay $10. It's like a
I spent
spaghetti
more.
feed.
I spent
it's like a
more than
spaghetti feed kind of
$10.
thing.
Spent $20 on raffle tickets. Didn't win anything. And I spent $5 on a cup of booyah. It needed salt
Yeah, I was gonna say they usually
And
need
pepper.
salt. They need
and
salt.
hot sauce.
Speaking of hot, we have a sponsor, new sponsor this year, Red Balloon. It's a pediatric urgent care facility in Edina. They can service just about everything you need from pediatric urgent care. So your kid gets home from school and he doesn't feel well, and you live in the Southwest Metro, or you live anywhere and you need help between 3 p.m. and 11 p.m., look up Red Balloon. They have stitches,
Not
first.
casts.
Check this out. I learned this when I talked to Nicole Schmitz last week. She says they have first dose medications.
As opposed to
So you
second
get your
dose
prescription
medications.
and it's 10 o'clock at night and you can't get to the pharmacy
Okay.
because it's closed.
Okay.
Guess what? They'll give you the first dose right there in the office. How cool is that? I mean, they got a lot
Wow.
of cool things. They will definitely treat your family well. Nicole's got 20 plus years experience in the pediatric field. She can help you. Their people can help you. So check out Red Balloon in Edina, 73rd in France.
73rd in France.
We got it. Let's do it.
We're on our way.
There was a tournament in Chicago, and our Minnesota Bantam AA teams did quite well down there in the Crosby Tax Division. Rochester went down there. Edina went down there. Maple Grove went down there. Eden Prairie went down there. We've been to this tournament several times, you and I.
Yeah.
And this is the best a Minnesota crew has ever done in this tournament.
Yeah. There are a couple of caveats that come along with that. The last time I was there, the Final Four included the Edina Bantam AAs, who, if I'm not mistaken,
Gentry. Was it Gentry too?
Yep, I'm getting to that point. But Edina, I believe, was a Final Four team at the state tournament that year. Chicago Mission, the 03, 02?
Oh, threes.
The 03 Chicago Mission team.
Yep.
03 Gentry, which ended up being one of the top teams in the country.
Yep.
And there was one more. It might have been Honey Baked 03s. But it was a who's who of future Division I prospects. And now Mission doesn't play in the tournament, which is hilarious because it's in their backyard. Gentry doesn't exist anymore. I don't know if Honey Baked went this year.
They weren't in it.
I feel like
this division.
CompuWare might have been there.
I didn't
at
see
one
any
point.
Detroit of the
Yeah,
Big Five from
the-
Detroit in the tournament.
The
so-
field has changed just a little bit. I think
Correct.
part of that is Little Caesars now hosts, at least at their 2010 age group, they host their own preseason showcase. So they might
Correct.
do that instead of the World Invite, but the field is tilted just a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas Minnesota teams might be thrilled just to get into the Final Four, now it feels like we've got a team in the Final Four every.
Correct. Well, here are the results. Edina beat Madison Capitals in the semifinals. Osseo Maple Grove beat Eden Prairie in the semifinals. So it was a classic backyard District 6, District 3 game. Maple Grove wins their first tournament down there at the World Invite. They played in it that same year, the Bantam AA Osseo Maple Grove team with Brock Faber, Justin Janicki, Kukanen, Thomas, Nelson, that group. They lost in the finals to Team Wisconsin's U15 team. They played up in the U15 division.
Yeah,
so
I don't think
I would see that these teams might end up playing the Edinas and Maple Groves might go back and play U15 instead of U14. That'd be my guess.
I think that that would be their best bet. Was if you're not going to play Little Caesars and Mission and all of them, then you might as well play up a division.
Correct. Or if
that was a great game though, that OMG T-Dub game in
very good
Orland Park, Illinois. Oh my gosh,
it's good.
The drive.
And if they don't go back to Chicago, I got a place where they could go.
The Centennial Preview.
They could go to the Battle for the Blue Ox in Moorhead. We would love to have those two AA teams. Actually, I would take all four of them. We'd love to have Rochester. We would love to have Eden Prairie. We'd love to have all those teams play in our tournament. So the invitation is always there to those four teams.
It's a shorter drive.
Yeah. So we have a guest this week on the show. Mike Schoonover will join us later in the show to talk about his son, Patrick, and what has happened in the last 10 years. This is a 10-year anniversary of Patrick's passing at the Battle for the Blue Ox. It should be an interesting interview to hear about his the steps he's taken since Patrick passed in Brainerd.
When was the last time you saw Mike?
That was at the funeral. Was the last time I saw Mike. We've talked on the phone a few different times, but we've never spoken to each other in person since the funeral.
I didn't get a chance to ask this during the interview because our interview ended up going 25 quality minutes, but I didn't want to take up any more of his time. I wonder sometimes if he gets tired of reliving the moment and going through step by step what happened and what caused Patrick's passing. Do you ever get tired of reliving it? Of talking about it?
No, I run hockey tournaments for a living. I'm in the hockey world, and don't take this wrong. I love hockey, and I love my job, and I love being in it. But it's just hockey, right? There's just not sometimes it's a little surface level. It's like, oh, this team beat that team, and you see the person, good to see you. You slap fives, but there's not a lot of depth to our life or to a lot of that stuff. But there was a lot of depth to this interview we had with him, and there's a lot of meaning, life lessons that I learned through that process. So I never really get too bored talking about that topic.
Is there anything you wish you would have done differently with 10 years of hindsight?
No, I don't think so. I thought we handled it quite well, considering we weren't very well prepared for that. No, I don't think that I would change anything, believe it or not. When I think of Patrick Schoonover and his funeral and the way we covered it and the way we treated everything, no, I don't think I would change much. That's a good question, though.
That's all I got for you.
That's all you got for questions? I will say this before we jump into the minute interview with Mike. It was a unbelievable funeral. We'll talk about it a little bit in the interview, but all the Bantam AA teams from the Blue Ox, all but maybe a couple, showed up with their jerseys on. They honored Patrick the entire season. They went with a moment of silence. It was a fantastic outpouring of love from the Minnesota hockey community, a side of the Minnesota hockey community you don't see every day. So here's an interview that we sat down with Mike Schoonover here at YHH just a few minutes ago. All right, we are joined this morning with Mike Schoonover, the father of Patrick Schoonover. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
Well, I'm very excited to see you and talk to you and tell the story, because it is somewhat of a legendary story in our fabric of Minnesota hockey. Is Patrick and his life and what his life is now dedicated to. So we're going to learn a little bit about Patrick today and learn a little about what you and your wife Gail have done in response to Patrick's passing in 2014 in Brainerd. Let's go back and just kind of, where were you and Gail when Patrick hit the ice over in the Brainerd Arena that day?
Gail goes to her corner and I go to my corner. She was up on the second level on the bleachers up there with all the moms. All the hockey moms were up there, and I was down in the lower corner behind the net and just visiting with a couple of dads and watching the game. And I was talking and I missed Patrick's goal. I missed it, but I saw him celebrating, so pretty happy and stuff. And then just a little while later, I think it was his next shift. He came around the net carrying the puck and didn't have his head up and was checked and then went down. And then he tried to get up again and go get his stick, and then he just collapsed. And what we remember is that happens to kids where they get hurt and they go down, and after they gain their senses, they get up, or the trainer walks out there and whatnot. But it was taking longer, and he wasn't moving, and so I don't know the amount of time it took for me to actually go over to the door and open it up and then walk out on the ice, because there was there's more people accumulating there, and then Gail eventually came down as more EMTs showed up, and Patrick was still out. He was not awake, and more and more people started coming, and then I think we Gail kept talking to him. She kept pinching his cheek and saying his name, and there was a nurse in there that was just urging her to continue to do that. Keep talking to him. He can hear you, and all those types of things. And I got a little bit overwhelmed with what was going on because there was a lot of people there. And so I walked off the ice because I was thirsty, and I think I just needed a mental break, which is, now that I look back on it, it was just crazy that I did that. But Pete DeRocher, a fellow hockey dad, grabbed me and
good man.
Pete's a very good man, and he took very good care of our family. Anyway, he helped me, I think he got me a bottle of water, and so and then he led me back to what was going on, and we made our way to the hospital, and we made some phone calls. And then we found out that Patrick had passed, that he wasn't going to wake up, and there was no reason why. We didn't know why. We didn't know. We thought the ride to the hospital. All right, we're going to go to the hospital, and he's going to wake up, and everything's going to be good, and it ended up not going that way, and so we had to make some really difficult phone calls to family and friends, and our daughter Anna was she was at ECU at the time as a senior, and she was going up to UMD to visit her sister Abby, and so she was in her car, and social media was kind of blowing up, and I think Twitter was the biggest deal, and whatnot. So we had called Abby and her boyfriend, who were up at UMD, and just told her what was going on, and then Anna's on her way, and as soon as she gets there, give us a call because we need you guys to come to Brainerd. So Abby's boyfriend at the time was just a gentleman, and got both the girls to Brainerd from Duluth, and we were reunited as a family, and we were able to spend some time with Patrick in the emergency room, and that was it. And Pete DeRocher gave us a ride back to the hotel, and there was a lot of people in the hotels because everybody's there for a good time and to watch hockey, and nobody, everybody was just consoling each other, and kids were consoling each other, and parents were, trying to do what they could to keep their kids sane and not going crazy.
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what hotel you were staying in. I mean, I know all the details. I can replay these 10 years later like it happened yesterday. One of my vivid memories was the following Sunday at Hayes Arena. Your son Matthew had a peewee game, and it wasn't your average everyday peewee game. Walk us through that day and what happened that night.
Well, it was very heavy. We had a lot of friends and family at our house, spending time with us, and a lot of Patrick's friends and Matthew's friends were at the house, and
they're mourning too.
They're mourning, and they were spending very good quality time with each other and bonding and whatnot. And it was Matthew's birthday that Sunday. He was going to be 12, I think, and so I know everything was heavy, and I just had sent a post out on, I think it was Facebook, of, hey, if you guys could wish Matthew a happy birthday. He didn't know I was doing it or whatever, but I just wanted to bring some upbeatness to things, and we had a I think we had a game or a scrimmage scheduled with Egan on that Sunday, and I said, Bud, do you want to play? And he goes, yeah, I want to play. He goes, I want to play because that makes me feel good. So we did, and then I don't know how the word got out, but it got crazy. It was from what I remember, there was people everywhere, and it was at that time that the news crews we finally said, let's let everybody know what's going on and that type of thing. And I can't recall if we knew what had caused his death at that point, but I think it was either there or shortly after that we found out.
It was the next day.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we finally got the medical examiner's report about Patrick, and couldn't read it. It was all medical jargon,
different language, right?
It was just crazy. So a friend of ours, Matt Johnson, another ECU dad, plays senior men's hockey, and I know he plays with a bunch of docs. And he had reached out, and Jay Travers, who's a cardiologist with Minneapolis Heart, responded and reviewed it and wrote up a very easy to understand note about it, and he talked to Gail and I and explained what happened, and it all made sense. And we had no idea that Patrick had 2 heart defects, and so that whole week after there, and then we were planning Patrick's funeral, and then we're just mystified with how can this happen, because we had no clue.
Explain to our listeners now that what an effect the hockey community, it was outpouring is not a fair term for it. It was an overwhelming amount of support that came in from the local hockey community. Walk through what that must have felt like.
It was crazy. Hockey is great. Families, the kids, the coaches, the organizations. At the time I was president of the ECU Hockey Association, and other leadership from other associations had reached out, and parents, and just the outpouring was just amazing. And that's why I just think hockey is so wonderful, because they get it. They take care of each other. They do those things for others, and stand up for each other, and help each other out. So between the Matthews game and that Sunday of having that kind of support, and then at Patrick's funeral of having all those kids around with all the jerseys, and having Shepherd of the Valley Church just packed, it was overwhelming. But it was really, what's the word? It was just overwhelming. And
In a good way, bad way, all kinds of ways.
In all kinds of ways, it was just crazy. And the bottom line, the fact of the matter is that our son is no longer with us.
Yeah.
That was really the part. And then, it continued. Every team we played, they wanted to have a moment of silence, and everybody was wearing, 96 stickers, or they were taping their sticks with 96, and play for Patrick, and it was just so cool. And it's to this day we still, there's people still doing that, and playing for Patrick, and it's a great feeling to know that you have that support, and it's also humbling to know that you have support, but it's also been an awakening, because we appreciate that, because we know that there's other families who have a lot worse than we do, that have suffered far greater loss, who don't get that support, who don't have that kind of stuff. So our heart goes out to them, and we want to just appreciate what we got, and not take it for granted, because there's a lot of folks in this world that lose kids, and they didn't get the support, or they don't have the support that we got. So we're pretty fortunate.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you said, it was the fact that gets missed, at an unbelievable funeral. I mean, the hockey jerseys from all over the Twin Cities that showed up, mostly Bantam players. It's like it seemed like every Bantam team showed up with their jerseys that day. And it was a spectacle. And here I run a social media company. I wanted to take pictures and do all that. I'm like, this is not the place for that. This is not, I don't want to make a spectacle out of this. I want the Schoonover family to have their peaceful time. And I could only imagine being in your shoes, losing my son at the time, and to have to deal with the next day, you know?
Yep.
And for me, the next day is what you did, what your family has done to take Patrick's the loss of Patrick, and make a positive out of it. Walk through those decisions and what happened. Let's just call it the day after the funeral to today. Where have Mike and Gail been since then?
Well, we got a lot of support from our pastor at the church, and he said there's two ways you can take this. You can be bitter, you can be better, and so we chose the better route, and again, fortunate that we chose that, because we've met a number of families that haven't taken that route.
Yeah,
and nothing against them. It's just we wanted to make a difference. The energy, and I don't know a better way to do it or say it, but the energy that surrounded Patrick's passing, with the hockey world doing what they all did, what the Minnesota Wild did to recognize Patrick, what the all the news coverage, all of those things, it was like we cannot let. It would be a shame to let it go for the benefit of others.
correct.
People need to know what Patrick had. We need to make a change. So Gail's dad, Alan, at the time was getting treatment for heart disease, and he had talked to his cardiologist about it, and his cardiologist thought that was pretty neat, that we wanted to do something, and so he reached out to us, and Play for Patrick was created. Paul Deutsch, who owns DePaul Lettering in Richfield, does all the Rink Rat jerseys and
everyone
T-shirts.
knows Paul. Yeah.
Anyway, Paul, they came up with that logo, with that Play for Patrick logo.
Right.
And we made one tweak to it. There was 2 lightning bolts on either side of it, and on the left side, we asked Paul, "Can you put a heart there?" Because that was our mission now. Is Play for Patrick was going to save lives by saving other kids. And so we did some research. We found some organizations around the country that screened young hearts, and we went to Dr. Kim and 2 of his nurses, and I went to Seattle, Washington. We traveled to Washington to visit the Nick of Time Foundation.
Right.
And because another family had lost their son Nick, sudden cardiac arrest, and they were checking hearts and all that kind of stuff. So Gail and I thought that was really, really cool, and that we wanted to do it. And so with the support of Dr. Kim and his nurses and all the ECU families and everybody that had the energy, we got a lot of donations for Patrick's passing. And we decided that we were going to use that money towards starting the foundation. So the Patrick Schoonover Heart Foundation started then in 2015. We had our first heart screening at ECU in 2015. Ironically, we found 2 kids. One of them was Colin Tollefson, young man who was Patrick's teammate and classmate.
Wow.
Found a condition, electrical condition that can cause sudden cardiac arrest, called WPW, or Wolff-Parkinson's-White syndrome. And then Kylie Penner, who was a dancer at Rosemount High School, that October screening, 9 years ago, we found them both, and she had a hole in her heart. And she was always wondering why she was a step or two behind her teammates with dance, and why she always felt tired or why she didn't feel good. And so they verified it down at the Mayo Clinic and treated her, and she's studying medicine to be,
wow.
I believe, a family doc. So
That's incredible.
both Colin and Kylie have our success stories, and it was from that very first heart screen that we had at ECU.
And how many of these screenings do you guys host a year?
So we just had our 36th heart screen at ECU. We run 5 or 6 a year, usually at area high schools. We've traveled as far north as the Brainerd area to have a heart screening, and we've traveled as far as south near Rochester to have a heart screening down there. But most of them are in the metro area.
So how can someone support the foundation? Where can they find you guys?
Playforpatrick.org.
Okay.
And we're financially, I don't want to say that we don't need the funding for it, because we are always looking to replace our gear. We purchased all of our own echocardiogram equipment. So we have 8 echo machines. We buy our stuff used, or slightly used, I should say. So I should probably say that, what the screening entails is doing a family health history. Patrick would have answered no to
all of them, right?
To the questions there. He would have answered no, and he had answered no on the sports physicals. So he had 4 doctor visits the last 2 years of his life. So our sports physicals are not sufficient. They're totally inadequate, and we're trying to get that changed.
And antiquated. I think you're trying to mix them both together, aren't
True.
you?
They don't work. But we do a family health history. We check height and weight. We do a 12-lead EKG. We do a limited echocardiogram, so we do a ultrasound of the heart to look for any structural heart defects. And the kids and the parents meet with physicians, cardiologists, and then we also have them learn or practice how to do CPR, hands-only CPR, and how to use an AED. The schools that host us, we donate an AED to them, whether it's an indoor cabinet, wall-mounted AED, or if it's one that gets put in an athletic bag. ECU, a couple years ago, we donated an AED that is weatherproof, so the AED is protected from the elements. Right. It serves the entire. They installed it near the pickleball courts down at ECU. So it serves the community. It's not locked up in an office in the school, only to be used during the school day. It is there 24/7, 365. So it's on the AED registry for that area. So if somebody lives in a house nearby, and quite frankly, folks, you gotta be the help. You need to know how to do CPR. I would even encourage people to buy an AED to have in their house, because Thanksgiving's coming up, the holidays are coming up. Generally speaking, family members are going to likely go down from sudden cardiac arrest, and so we need to act. If you wait for an ambulance to show up, if you wait for first responders to show up, that could be 10 minutes. You have 3 minutes to save that person's life.
Wow.
And so we encourage people to practice doing their CPR skills. Purchase an AED. Know where the AEDs are. Wherever you are, look at the entrance and see if there's an AED there, because we need to act. Because emergency responders might be 20 minutes away.
Right.
And then it's going to be another story.
You have a bunch of numbers written down here. Either you are like calculus or you got something to share with us. I'm dying to hear what these are.
So we've had 36. Last Saturday was our 36 heart screen at Eastview High School. We've
This number's 4 digits. This is big.
We've screened 6,300 kids.
Wow.
We've found
This number looks amazing.
401 with elevated blood pressure, and when we say that, we measure blood pressure in both the right and the left arm. Patrick would have found 2 different blood pressures in Patrick.
Would that have been enough of a red flag?
It would have. It
would've?
really would have.
Okay.
A few more questions, a number more checks, and why does he have high blood pressure would have saved his life. So the blood pressure is important. So we measure the blood pressure in the right and the left arm. If it's high, we will let the kids go through the rest of the screen, and we will recheck them before they meet with a physician.
Right.
So we can see if it comes down. Maybe they're just nervous. But those 401, that's after a second check. So those families, 401 families, have been told, get this checked again and keep an eye on it.
Right.
Because high blood pressure causes other, they may not have a heart issue, but something else is going on.
Correct.
We found 351 abnormal readings. So we found 351 kids with a structural or electrical heart defect.
Peter, get a calculator on that. What's the percentage of that out of the 6,000? That's very high percentage.
Well, my question is, the 351 a piece of the 401, or are those two separate numbers
separate.
that go into the
So
6,300?
700 abnormalities were discovered out of the 6,000.
Closer to 8.
Yep.
That's greater than 10%.
Yep. So,
Wow.
and when you look at that, so let's just say we have an auditorium of 6,300 kids. There are 700 kids in that auditorium that have either high blood pressure or a heart defect.
That's incredible.
More than likely.
Yeah. What's the 22?
So we've taught over 5,000 people how to do CPR and how to use an AED.
Oh, wow.
And then we've donated 22 AEDs to area schools.
Nice. That's a lot of numbers.
So financially we're doing really well, and I think we're going to increase that because we want to have more AEDs in the field. The other piece of the puzzle here is that we're thinking about kids. We should have an athletic bag. So where Eastview High School is, or
Correct. Yep.
or pick a high school and pick the farthest practice field from the high school. So parents, think about the high school.
Hundreds of yards.
Think about where your kids are practicing, and maybe parents could do this on their own. I'll challenge them. You guys raise the money to buy AEDs for each coach's bag for those fields that are out there in Nowheresville.
How much do they cost?
You can get used ones, about $1,000. You can get really expensive ones that are $3,000. You can get them. And if people want to know how to get them, they can reach out to us, and we have local contacts. Buy them locally from people who will sell you what you need and who will service them for you. Buying an AED is not a one and done deal. There's pads that need to be replaced. They wear out. There's batteries that need to be replaced because they go bad, and somebody needs to check on it. The worst thing that could happen is for you to run through an athletic field to find the AED and find out that the battery doesn't work.
I can only imagine that.
So,
all right, we've talked some numbers, but I think most importantly, one of the things that I wanted to get out of today's discussion is tell a lot of the kids playing in this tournament this weekend were 3, 4, 5 years old. Believe it or not, 'cause it's 10 years ago, correct?
Yep.
And who was Patrick? Tell us about him. I know all about him. I went through all of the funerals and studying who he was. I know he was, but when you tell someone about Patrick, what would you tell him?
Patrick was curious, intuitive, He could figure out to get what he wanted, so he could be a little shit. I'm sorry, I swore. But every parent knows that because they say that about their own kids. But anyway, he was figuring himself out. He was going from an adolescent to a teenager, so he was in that kind of that tween thing, and it was really cool because a few months prior to him passing away, we saw him all of a sudden become just kind of figure it out. And I think part of it was his teammate Luke Barron, who was also a classmate at Blackhawk, or I'm sorry, Luke went to Blackhawk, but he was a freshman at Eastview. But Luke and Patrick hung out that summer, and Luke liked Patrick, and Luke said, "You better make that AA team." And that resonated with Patrick to work hard to figure it out, because Patrick felt as though that he never belonged with the older boys. He admired Joey Stillings. He admired Luke Barron. He admired all those kids that were a year older than him. And he was a good hockey player, but he just lacked the self-confidence or think that he wasn't good enough. And that summer before he passed, something changed. And he made the AA team, and he was focused. He had a girlfriend, Haley, that he was serious about, and that he, serious as a 14-year-old can be.
Right.
But he had these other things that were beyond him, and so it was really cool to see that for that little bit of time. We were able to see that he was changing, that he was maturing, that he was becoming a young man, and we saw the best of Patrick. We saw the worst of Patrick, but we were happy to hear all the stories about Patrick, about how nice he was, how polite he was, how respectful he was to others, and that he looked out for others. There was a lot of parents that said, your son watched out for my kid in elementary school. He stood up for him, or at Blackhawk, he stood up for him, and so that was nice to hear, because you don't hear that as a parent. Right. And unfortunately, hopefully people share those stories when their kids aren't gone, or somebody's child is not gone, that they share those good stories. So it was nice. It was nice to hear.
One of my vivid memories was during his eulogy was how mischievous he was, how he was practical joking all the time. He was always smiling. He was always kind of pulling the wool over people's eyes. Is that something you think about to this day?
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely. There's a video that popped up that he did, I think it was, I can't remember what it was, some powder that the kids it was sour. It was really sour, and I don't know what he was trying to do, but he was going to try it. Fortunately it was healthy. He wasn't hurting himself, but it was just this, like, what are you thinking, bud? So yeah, he would figure out a way to kind of game the system.
Right.
Gail would say, you can have, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. And he would actually weigh it out. He would actually go, is the crime, is the punishment worth the crime? And then he would negotiate a different way. And so he was always, I think Patrick would have been a great salesman.
Right.
So yeah, it just, it was just, he was, and like I say, he loved life. He loved competing. He loved hockey. He loved soccer. It was funny. So it was Patrick's first time making AA in Bantams, and he had told us all the stories about all the older boys, and Luke Barron and Joey Stillings. And Gail said after the Hastings game, the night before we drove up to Brainerd, we played Hastings at Hayes. Gail said, "Patrick, I see you're playing with Joey Stillings."
Big Joey Stillings.
And Patrick goes, "Mom, everybody plays with Joey." So Joey's out there every other shift.
Right.
So anyway, it was just neat that he finally got there, and then the picture of Patrick after he scored the final goal.
The guys congratulating him, yeah.
With his buddies out there. Those were all second-year Bantams. Those were the guys that he all idolized. And so it was pretty neat.
The whole story is neat, and I'm really happy to have you here. And we celebrate Patrick every year at the beginning of the Blue Ox, the first game. And as long as I'm running the Blue Ox, Patrick will be part of the Blue Ox.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Thanks for being here today, Mike.
Thanks for thinking about Patrick, and thanks for all the support.
Mike Schoonover from Eagan, Minnesota.
Okay, should we move on to something a little more joyful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, for sure.
We appreciate Mike's time, obviously, but it is a very heavy subject, so maybe we can move on to something just a little bit lighter. We'll move on to our 2024 Blue Ox preview.
And before we do that, we need to talk a little bit about Map South hockey.
Map South!
Map South in Mendota Heights. I was there last weekend. I got a chance to go back into the area to talk to Garrett Raboin from Augustana University, and got a chance to see all the equipment, see the production that goes into Map South for players, or they could be peewee age, bantams, high school, juniors, college, you name it, pro. They have everything you need to become a better hockey player in the offseason. So check out mapsouthhockey.com.
Mapsouthhockey.com. If I had any desire to get better at hockey, that's where I would go.
But you don't have a desire to get better?
Hell no, I don't have a desire to get better. I play at 10 o'clock tonight, though.
You do?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'll be well rested tomorrow.
That General Sports Hyperlight 2 is on its last legs.
Ooh, that's
it's on
a good
its
hint.
last legs.
We'll talk about GS in just a few minutes.
Daddy needs a new twig.
Let's talk about last year's Blue Ox.
Last year's Blue Ox, the black bracket. I'm going to save that one for last because that was incredible. White bracket final, Sartell over Andover by a final score of 6-2. A nice how you doing from the boys in Sartell.
They got it going pretty well that day.
They did.
In that game. You broadcasted that one.
I did. They have some interesting players on that team.
Yeah.
If
they could keep that group together, they could compete.
Yeah, it's
not
going to
with
be
the Moorheads of the world, but they could compete with the rest of the
It's going to be a
section.
couple of years, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they had a mix of first years and second years on that team, which means there's always going to be one gap between the two. So if they can hang on to the older half of the team until they're seniors and they hold on to the younger half till they're juniors, that could be a decent team.
Correct.
They got a lot of personalities on that team. Blue bracket, Fargo Freeze over Centennial 4-3. I thought Centennial was one of the more underrated teams in the field last year, but they end up going down to the Fargo Freeze.
All right. And then last but not least,
You want to try that again?
Last but not least.
Nice, Daniel Webster. Moorhead over Stillwater 6-5, and I believe double overtime.
No.
Double or single?
Regulation.
It was not regulation.
No, it was overtime.
It's overtime.
Overtime. Stillwater poured it on at the end. That's all I remember.
Incredible.
They scored like 3 goals in the last minute to tie it, and then it went to overtime.
See, I would put that up there with this year's pumpkin.
It was exactly like I was getting the exact same vibe, but instead of the team who had all the momentum, the team that blew the lead actually ended up winning the game.
Sometimes I think they did it on purpose just to make it more dramatic.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that this year.
You don't think they're going to do that this year?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Who are the MVPs?
The leading scorers for the Blue Ox, Connor Schubert from Rosemount, 9 goals, 15 points. MVP was Wyatt Cullen. He had 6 goals and 8 assists for 14 points. Jace Panzer, who ended up bumping up to the East Grand Forks High School team almost right after the Blue Ox, had 11 points on 6 goals, 5 helpers. And Devin Jacobs from Sartell had 4 goals and 10 points.
How crazy is this? If we're talking about the 2023 Blue Ox, last year Wyatt Cullen was in it, and now he's playing for the NTDP in the USHL.
Yep.
And did you see the Joe Moline tweet he made for us about Luka Jarvis scoring his first USHL point for Youngstown? He was in the Blue Ox last year.
So I saw the Luka Jarvis thing before Joe Moline got to it because I got an alert from Youngstown, but it is wild to think about.
It's just insane. I mean, it's insane for Wyatt playing in the USHL, but for Luka to be kind of, out there doing that, I was really impressed.
Well, I don't know, we can wax poetic for a very long time about Luka Jarvis and which skills translate to the next level because he's got
him.
all of them.
He's got them. That's for sure.
Do you think we'll see him?
I remember seeing him. I'm not sure if he made national camp or not, but I remember being at the 54s. I think he did too. But I was at the 54s that Saturday watching all three teams play, and I remember thinking to myself, if they don't pick this kid,
there's a problem.
I know he's younger. I know he's played freshman. He didn't get a ton of minutes and a ton of points last year for Stillwater. But I'm like, if they don't take this kid, they are not watching the right game because he is one of the most athletic kids you'll find out there.
So this spring would have been his invite to the national tryout.
No, he would have been a 16.
So last spring.
He was I don't know.
He's an 08.
He's an 08. He didn't get invited to the tryout, the NTDB tryout, but he would have been invited to, he would have made his way through the 16s for not the 15s, which many of the Bantams were 15s last year.
Fair enough. Bantam A, Oscar Maple Grove over Moorhead 4-1. The pool winners were OMG out of Pool A, Moorhead out of Pool B. Pool C was Minnetonka. And Sam Jacobson of OMG was named MVP with 6 goals, 8 points.
Sam just went off in the championship game. He had a really good championship game, and he was just the difference. I mean, without Sam, like that tournament's even. With him, he tipped the scales in the favor of OMG. That's why I named him the MVP of the tournament.
I also took one of my favorite pictures of all time when he got named MVP and everybody was cheering for him. That's always nice to see.
It's exactly what it's all about. Watching Sam, he was in our Gopher camp and played in a lot of stuff, a lot of our events. It was fun to see him get rewarded for his hard work.
It's also nice to see a player who you think at however many other AA programs he would have a spot. He just happens to be in a log jam at OMG.
Correct.
It's nice to see a kid like that get a little recognition.
About it.
Alrighty, why don't you give me a tournament overview for people that are unfamiliar with brackets?
Okay, so in the Bantam AA, we have it's 24 teams. So the 9 seed through the 24 seed play each other. 16 teams will play each other in the first round games, we'll call them. And the winners play the 8 top seeded teams. So the middle 8 would play the top 8. The bottom 8 would stay in one bracket. We'll call that the white bracket. And then on Friday evening, the top 16 teams square off, and the winners end up in the far right bracket, which is the black, and then the losers end up in the blue, which is the middle bracket. So it's a unique place where Saturday morning basically everything gets reset. The top 8 are in the top, the middle 8 are in the middle, and the bottom 8 are in the bottom, and they play for a championship, and all 3 play on Sunday, one in the white, one in the blue, one in the black, and then we have a champion of the Blue Ox single A as well, which is really easy. It's 16 teams this year. Can you imagine we have 40 teams in those 4 spots this year? It's going to be insane. It's the biggest one we've ever had. There will be that's just a straight bracket tournament.
Thank God.
Yes.
Thank God. Alrighty, let's get to the fun part. Top 8 seeds. You and I are going to offer a player to watch from each
team. Do you want to list them off first?
Yes, starting with number 8, Woodbury. 7, Hermantown. 6, White Bear Lake. 5, Warroad. 4, Stillwater. 3, Minnetonka. 2, Grand Forks. 1, Moorhead.
So, just in fairness to our staff, we made these brackets right before the Now rankings came out. I probably would have bracketed a little bit differently. I know one thing for sure. The number 1 wouldn't be different. Moorhead's number 1, and they are the team to beat. This is the most prohibitive favorite that I've ever had in a tournament, dating back to the Big Pumpkin 2013 when the Edina Hornets were coming off an undefeated season and then only lost 1 game that season. So in that run of games, they probably played 130 games, 140 games, and they only lost 1. That was the most favored team I've ever had in my events, and haven't had one since that day, except we're coming into this one right now. That's how favored Moorhead is in this tournament.
There's a lot going on there. Yeah, I mean, you beat Shattuck St. Mary's by 7 goals. When was the last time anyone scored 12 goals?
Never happened.
against Shattuck, so obviously Moorhead would be the number 1 seed.
Correct.
All right, a player to watch from each team. Do you want to go 1 to 8 or 8 to 1?
It's up to you.
All right, let's go 1 to 8.
All right.
Moorhead. Take your pick.
I mean, I liked what your list said. It says all. I mean, they're really
It's just a note.
I mean, literally
all players.
I don't know. I'll go Johnny Grammer. Okay. I mean, like
Okay.
Johnny Grammer's got all the tools. He's got the speed. He's got the hands. He makes plays more than he does anything else. That's my favorite part about watching Johnny play. His brothers play D. He plays forward. He's different. He has the same last name as Luke and Joe, but he's got a different game. He's got a different gear. He's got a different everything.
Well, he's also a forward for one thing.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's fun to watch.
Luke and Joe were both defensemen. Speaking of defensemen, I am going to take defenseman Beck Thorson.
Solid.
So last year up at the Bantam AA tournament, Drew Simonich I was really familiar with. Gunnar Schock I was fairly familiar with. Drew Corton super familiar with. But every time I looked up and there was a defender making a play, whether it was a big hit, a crisp outlet pass, a big shot from the point, it happened to be number 18, and that's Beck Thorson. He's a big boy.
Calder, yes.
You will not be able to miss him.
No.
This defensive core averages, I think, between Thorson, Dozark, a couple other guys, they're at least 6 feet tall.
They're big.
That's a really, really big back line. Alrighty, Grand Forks, I'm going to go with another defenseman, Bodie Burris.
He played in the Bantam Elite League this year.
He did. He's solid. He plays virtually mistake-free, and he's not afraid to get his nose dirty.
I coached his Bantam Elite team one game. There was a missing coach, so I got a chance to coach him. We kind of became buddies. Me and Bodie are buddies, so I like that choice. Stay-at-home D, makes all the right plays, smart, typical Grand Forks kid, a lot of grit in Bodie Burris. I'm going to take the easy choice here. I think the best player in the tournament is Nolan Mardo. You'll see him on display big time on all weekend long. I'm not sure they're going to make it to the championship because they had a really tough bottom bracket, but Nolan's a really fun kid to watch play.
He is a fun kid to watch play. I've got my own opinion on the Grand Forks.
Really?
That's the number 2 seed.
Oh, you think they should be too?
They're a bit high.
Oh, you think they're too high?
I think they're too high.
Wow, a
think they're
shot.
too
Did you
high.
hear that? That was him who said that. When you come into the rink, don't come looking for me. Peter Odney right there said that they're too high.
I think they're too high.
I think
Alrighty.
they're really good. I think it's a good team.
I'm not saying it's not a good team. I'm just saying
a
2.
good team.
I think 2 is a little high.
All right.
Number 3 seed, Minnetonka. I'm going to go Elliot Schultz.
I was going to take him.
Too late. Younger brother of Liam Schultz. And Elliot Schultz, just like his brother, has controlled chaos on the ice. He skates like I'm going to borrow a term that I read in Sports
I
Illustrated.
think he skates
once.
like all the Schultzes. They all skate the same.
Like a kindergartner after a Red Bull binge. There is no corner he will not enter. There is no opponent's stick he will not take a whack at. And
I like that.
Below the dots, there might not be a better player.
You got a chance to see that Minnetonka team challenge Moorhead in the state semifinals a couple years ago down in New Ulm. Remember?
Yeah, a little bit different. I mean, Pee-wees to Bantams.
No, but it's still a lot of the
bit
same
different.
kids. If you look at those rosters, it's a very similar.
It is
set
a lot of the
rosters.
same kids, but I think the hitting part, that's the one thing I think about with Minnetonka. Obviously, Dean Stevens is a smaller player. I don't know if he's had a massive growth spurt over the past year, but I mean, he's not a big dude. Thankfully, they've got bigger.
They're still going
players.
to be good. This will be a good team, Minnetonka.
I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm just saying I'll be interested to see how the size translates.
Correct. I'm going to go with a bigger kid on this roster, Cash Hardy. He's a player that definitely makes things happen. I would call him an IQ guy. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time, and like, oh, that's luck. I mean, it's not luck if you do it over and over and over. So Cash Hardy's my guy.
Yeah, I'd also toss Colton Kruk in there.
Oh yeah, what a great kid.
He, somebody at Bantam Elite this year, he meant this as a total compliment. He said, I didn't really notice Kruk, and then by the end of the game, he had 2 goals, 2 assists, and won the bulk of his faceoffs. And he produces.
Yeah, you're calling him Crook. It is actually pronounced Crook.
Crook.
You keep saying Crook. It's Crook. Get it right, you crook.
You can make fun of me for my dyslexia, too. You want to do that?
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, that's what I thought, buddy. All right, number 4 seed, Stillwater. This is a personal favorite of mine. I think I've picked him before as a player to watch in different events. Jonah Johnston.
Oh, yeah. He's a big
Speed
kid.
demon.
Got great speed, good hands. He will definitely give opponents trouble in this tournament. They're on the upside of that bracket, so there's a chance they could face off with Warroad in the quarterfinals, which will be a really good game.
Absolutely.
My Stillwater guy, who did I write down for Stillwater? I picked Jacob Bjornley. He's another kid who played in the Bantam Elite League this past fall. Jacob has great hands, just like his brother Lucas. Sees the ice extremely well. High IQ guy, very skilled kid. He'll make a lot of different plays on the front end of the ice for the Ponies this year.
Alrighty. Number 5 seed, Warroad, the only single A team playing in the Double A field. That is a favor to the A field as much as it is a benefit to the Double A field.
Well, they wouldn't be allowed in the A field, but that's fine.
What I'm saying. I'm saying for the benefit of the A field, Warroad is not playing.
And it's great to have. I'm grateful that they're in our event because they don't travel to the cities for tournaments very often. So we get them. We were lucky enough to get them to come to Moorhead and play, and they did great last year. And they won the state tournament in A last year. I foresee the same this year. I think they're going to be even better this year. I think they're going to give Stillwater all they can handle this year if they in the quarterfinals, assuming that they both win their play-in games. But my guy is Connor Lund, where you were in New Ulm on Saturday. I was in New Ulm on Friday, and I saw Connor just go berserk in the quarterfinals. I think it was against Woodbury or Minneapolis maybe in the quarterfinals of the state PBA 2 years ago.
I think it was Minneapolis.
Maybe it was Minneapolis. It was great. There was some great games. Those quarterfinal PBA state are always completely crazy. You've seen a couple of them. You saw you see the upset, right? It was didn't Maple Grove get beat or no? Somebody beat.
That was
Double A. That was Double A.
When Grand Rapids beat Osseo Maple Grove.
No, it was Moorhead beat Osseo Maple Grove.
Bantam Double A.
Oh no.
Prior Lake.
Oh yeah, Prior Lake. Yes, same.
Grand
I was
Rapids.
I'm sorry. I was thinking you were talking about Duluth when Moorhead beat Osseo Maple Grove. They were number 1 in the state.
Oh yeah. That was Pee Wee's.
I mean, that was the same team that got beat by Moorhead beat Edina in the region final 8-1. We were all jumping on that Osseo Maple Grove bandwagon.
I know. It was pretty funny actually.
So, did you know? Speaking of that Duluth state tournament, that Duluth PBA state tournament that Warroad won. Do you know which YHH employee was in that game? Correct. Andrew Ritter was playing for Sartell's PBA team.
Oh, yeah, he and Tori Lund.
And also another YHH employee, Ella Berger, was on that team for Sartell. So there you go. There you have it.
That's a blast from the past.
All right, let's move on.
Well, I've got my Warroad player to watch.
Okay, who is it?
Avon Hotvet.
Oh, Tootsie.
Well, okay, and there's a reasoning behind it. He's always been bigger than everybody else. He's always been stronger than everybody else, and now he's at that age where everybody is starting to catch up a little bit.
It's
so
good,
I'll be curious. He is a good player, but the question has always been how will his game translate as everybody gets bigger and everybody gets stronger, and I'm excited to see him exceed expectations.
We're going to definitely see it this weekend.
Yep, White Bear Lake.
Well, since I get to go first, I'm gonna steal Nash Road from you right now. But if you don't let me take Nash Road, I'll take Chase Mathowitz.
I'm going with Alex Bolt.
Oh, going with the first year.
A lot of options.
There's a lot of options. There's a reason that team is doing so well. They are very, very talented.
Alex Bolt is a first year, but he had 3 points in 3 games during the Centennial Double A preview, and I just see him as a really solid top 6 forward.
I think these guys can end up in the finals.
I think they can too, but I've had my heart broken too many times by White Bear Lake.
Before.
Hermantown, 7 seed. My player to watch is Carter Nash. He put on an absolute show last year in the Bantam Double A state tournament, back-to-back shutouts before Hermantown ran into that Moorhead machine in the final. Carter Nash, outstanding goaltender.
Could he be an NTDP kind of kid?
We're going to find out.
There's a lot of good 09 goalies.
We're going to find out.
I was looking at the U17 line chart, and obviously Carruthers made the team. Luke Carruthers made the team. Oh, they got Kanan Smith in there because their other goalies are out. So look at that. 2 Minnesota goalies in the net, and I think we're on a fast track of the 09s. There could be 1 or 2 I'm not going to name any names, but there's plenty of Minnesota 09 goalies that could be making their bid for that spot next year.
The way I heard it, Kanan Smith was one of the last players that they made a decision on.
Yeah, for sure. So he's in Sioux Falls, right? Technically in Sioux Falls.
He's in Sioux Falls. I got to watch him.
What a bummer that is. You
Fargo.
get your best goalies now gone. He's playing in the NTDP. That's just the way it goes, right?
Hey, if you go window shopping, sometimes you got to replace something.
That's right.
Alrighty, Woodbury is the 8th seed. I'm going to go with another first-year Tristan Will. It's another player kind of in the hot vet vein where bigger than everyone, stronger than everyone. But I think his game will translate nicely to the bantam level where he is allowed to hit just a little bit. I think he's a pure athlete that will adapt to the bantam.
I can assure you he's going to like that. I had a chance to see him get a couple different checking and major penalties called against him in the state tournament in Shakopee. It was almost like he had to pay tax. He was in the penalty box so often in that tournament, and he'll admit it. I mean, he's like he just got so fired up, because he's playing so hard. But Tristan just plays hard, and he's going to really thrive at bantams. And here he's the Wiz Wyatt, Player of the Year, and he's already getting mentioned here as a first year. I think he's definitely on a fast track.
Alrighty, who do you got from Woodbury?
I took Drew Morrell. There's a lot of good choices on this Woodbury team. Logan Petronek's another one. These are these super athletic D-men that, really change the game as far as, puck movement, especially in the D zone. The Predators will get out of the D zone pretty easily when they have those two guys on the back end for you.
Sure. Alrighty, pick time.
Pick time. Before we do picks, we should talk about Breakaway Academy. I feel like we've talked about a few breakaway kids in this segment already. You dropped Colton Crooks was a student there, and now I think he's in 9th grade. But you talked about Stevens, Dean Stevens. He's a student there. He's an 8th grader at Breakaway. So it's always fun to hear the names. Some of the fruits of the labor, the people at the school, whether they're on the hockey side or on the student side, that it's paying off, and it sure probably feels good for those guys to have their names called as well. But it's a great school. Do you have the pillars for us? Do you have them just knocked out? Athleticism, is that one of them?
No, it's not.
It's athletics.
There you go. We had this discussion.
I listened to the show last week, and I was laughing. What an idiot I was.
Athletics, academics, leadership.
Character. That's what they're looking for. They have a big tournament that they put on for their 5th graders every year called the Brick Cup. I think I might be reffing in that. I might be reffing in the Brick Cup this year. So
thank God.
It's been really hard for me to. If I had a Thorn, I don't want to do a Thorn too bad, but it's hard to get reffing gigs in District 6. So I'm branching out. I'm going to be reffing in Wham this year. I'm going to be reffing in District 10 this year. I'm going to be driving to get my ref gigs this year. So I'm looking forward to reffing with the boys and girls over at Breakaway. Look forward to seeing them. We're going to do a on-location show over there this year. One of our pods will be at Breakaway Academy, and looking forward to that too.
Great.
All right, moving on to the picks.
Picks, Final Four. Out of the top half of the bracket, I have Moorhead taking on Stillwater.
I kind of got to go with my brackets, or can I kind of go against my brackets now?
You can do whatever you want.
If I choose to, I might just do it. Let me see what we got.
Go for it.
I'll go Moorhead on the top, and I'm going to go Warroad. It will upset Stillwater.
Warroad will upset Stillwater. Okay. Out of the bottom of the bracket, I got Hermantown taking on White Bear Lake.
And I'm going to go Grand Forks and Minnetonka.
Okay.
Grand Forks, Minnetonka.
Alrighty. Championship game. Well, my pick in the set, those are my semifinal picks. But in semifinal number 1, I got Moorhead over Stillwater.
Yep.
Semifinal 2, I got Hermantown over White Bear Lake.
I'm going to have Moorhead over Warroad in a backyard brawl. That game will get physical. I'm just telling you that right now. That will get physical.
Is that going to be – hold on. What time is that game going to be at?
That game will be at 6:30 p.m.
Oh, no.
Yeah, why? Why?
It's been a long day. Everybody's had time to hang out a little bit.
It's gonna get feisty if those two teams play because
Blood.
they know each other really, really well.
Yeah.
So that's my one on the top, and on the bottom, I'm sticking with my picks. I'm going Grand Forks over Minnetonka.
Alrighty, championship game. I got Moorhead versus Hermantown. I'm going to take Moorhead in a repeat of last year's Bantam AA state title game.
And I will go, that's a good pick. I'm going to go Moorhead over Minnetonka, Moorhead over Grand Forks. And I think this will be a great hockey game. I really do. I think Grand Forks will hang with them for 2 periods, and then all of the skill will just take over in the third, and Moorhead will win their 4th consecutive Blue Ox.
It's a good pick.
It is good. It is good.
I got a dark horse team too.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay, so I like these. I love dark horses. I got one.
So
sure.
The dark horse pick is the one that has to come out of the tournament's opening round. It's 7:30 on Friday. Come on.
Yes.
That's too early.
Yeah.
Alrighty, my dark horse is going to be Blaine. I think Blaine had a nice showing during the Centennial preview. I know they had a couple of leading scorers in that Centennial preview.
Okay.
Where is him? Brody Lockman had 5 points.
I like that. I like that pick.
And a couple of other players to watch from Blaine. Logan Lunseth, Owen Stemweedle, Porter Bayer, and Nolan Gist.
All right, let me steal that from you for a second. I'm going to go Andover.
It's a nice team.
Duluth East is another one I would have chosen, but I'm going to go Andover. They got so many good players. This is a really good team. They got Dylan Knox and
it's a good team.
William Blado on the back end. You got Chase Berlin and Max Swenson up front. They got some ballers on this team. Yeah. I think this is going to be a really good team. And the best part is Berlin and Swenson are first years, and they're going to make an immediate impact at the Bantam level.
All right, Bantam Apex, Little Ox.
Little Ox. It's not called Little Ox.
What's Little Ox in Spanish?
Here we go.
What's Little Ox in French?
Wow. This is great.
Little Ox in French. Boof.
In Spanish, it's
You can't even pronounce it, can you?
Buyasio.
Buyasio?
Let's do it. And then what was it? What was little again?
Little, but little is pequeño.
Yeah, so it's
Pequeño.
Buyasio,
No.
pequeño.
Buoy is ox, apparently. Buey. Buoy.
Buoy, pequeño.
There you go.
We don't call it the little ox. We just call it the
Buyasio
A. We
is
just call
little
it the A in
ox.
this one. We could make a little ox.
Petit bouf.
Buyasio is
Petit
like
bouf.
little ox in
Wow.
one word.
I got stuff coming at me everywhere.
Buyasio.
Wow, you're going to get on camera now.
Little Ox!
All right,
Alrighty,
let's do it.
my final 4 are Little Ox. St. Paul
Wait.
versus Minnetonka.
Can I say something?
I'm not calling on you.
Please.
What?
Please. There are 15 teams out of the 16 who are Class A hockey, and they have a double A in front of them. There is one team in this tournament, and they're from St. Paul, Minnesota, the St. Paul Capitals. Do not have a double A in front of them. I'm just throwing it out there. We lost a team 2 weeks ago. It happened last year, and I got a complaint when we put Detroit Lakes in. I'm just throwing it out there that St. Paul Capitals does not have a double A in front of them. Let it fly.
Oh, no,
There you
not the hockey-powered Detroit Lakes.
I know.
Alrighty, I got St. Paul taking on Minnetonka. I like the St. Paul team.
You think St. Paul's going to go all the way to the
Final 4?
Final Four?
Sure I do.
Gosh.
I like
you're
Charlie.
such a homer.
I like Charlie Sandvik out of this team. I like Desmond Bustos out of this team. I think St. Paul
So are they
is gonna
pulling their
play
wool
well.
over my eyes? They're saying, we're not that good. We're not that good.
I
I quizzed teams on a lot of double A teams wanted to play in this division, and I basically got the one that would challenge our A teams the least, not the most, believe it or not.
Okay. Well, I didn't go to their practice.
Okay,
That would be
I
weird.
think they're going to be good. They'll definitely be a good
So I
team.
got St. Paul, Minnetonka, and then in the other semi, I got Edina versus Maple Grove.
I have Edina, Maple Grove at the bottom. Those are your 2 and your 3. I think Maple Grove's really good. Did you see who Maple Grove's goalie is? It's Renner Anderson.
Yeah, I did.
Wow. I just went, whoa, that's a good team. I would have thought Renner would have been a double A goaltender for sure. That tells you how deep Maple Grove is and how good this team is going to be. They got Leaf Campa. And
Yep.
It's a good team. That's a really good team.
Very good team.
Edina's going to be great again. They have a bunch of kids that played in the Bantam Elite League, like Owen Oska and Heinz Crum. That's a good team. That's a really good team as well.
It is a good team.
I agree with you. I'm going to go. I'll go Moorhead at the top. Again, this is the whole watered down effect, right? You have a bunch of good players like Brennan Vanett and Johnny Olness and Landon Gerskis who are probably AA kids all over the place. I have them as the number 1 seed. I think they'll make it to the finals, to the Final Four. And then you got Stillwater, who got a lot of kids from that state semifinalist last year in Pee Wees at Stillwater as well.
Yep. I got Tonka over St. Paul in one semifinal. I got Edina over OMG in the other semifinal. So I got Minnetonka versus Edina. They drove to Moorhead to play each other in the championship game, and I'm going to take Edina over Moorhead in the Bantam A finals.
I'm going to go Moorhead over Edina in the finals. I got Moorhead. They'll knock off Stillwater in the semis.
All right.
Should be fantastic.
It's going to be a fun tournament. I'm excited.
I will be in both rinks. Look me up. We'll be doing a lot of fun headshot stuff. We'll be putting together a ton of great media like we do every year up in Moorhead. You and I will be broadcasting. Let's see how many total games we have. We have 7 on the AA side and what would that be? 3 on the single A side. So 10 total games be broadcasted. No, more than that. So 7 AA plus the 2, that's 9 plus the 12 total games, Peter. 12 total games.
Sure you don't want to run those numbers again?
No, I got it. I forgot about the blue and the white bracket championships. So 12 total games live streamed from Moorhead.
I hear you loud and clear. Is there any other player you want to shout out here?
No. There's so many. There's so many good players. This is going to be a great event. We have Neutral Zone is going to be there coming to cover it. We have the NTDP is coming to watch. I have been reached out to by 6 different USHL teams coming. It is the hot place to be this weekend if you're a 14-year-old hockey player. Hint, hint, Edina, Maple Grove. It's a good spot to be. It's a really good spot to be, and we are looking forward to a great weekend. Before we get to our roses and thorns, a quick shout out to General Sports. You already mentioned them once here on the pod. I have a cool thing to share. This is not Blue Ox related, but a lot of these kids in the Blue Ox played in the Squirtacular. Okay. This year's player of the game pin is going to be the General. The General is you're going to get a General pin. And that's going to be our pin this year for our player of the game pins, which I think is going to be kind of cool. General Sports and Edina attached to Braemar Arena. If you need service, if you need equipment, check them out. It's unbelievable service, the best there is.
I was there the other day.
Oh, you were?
Got my skate sharpened.
I haven't been there. I haven't had to get my skate sharpened because I haven't got any ref gigs. Thank you, D6. Need some ref gigs.
General Sports. Your generosity a year ago has led me to the greatest heights at late night hockey that I've ever reached.
Is it because of the stick?
It is because of the stick, but I got a problem. There's a crack.
Really?
There's a crack. I've seen your stick warehouse.
You need one.
Call me.
Okay. All right,
Call me.
We'll work on that. We'll get you a
Call
stick.
Me. I could also use skates.
Come on, don't get greedy.
Like my gloves have holes.
Let's not get greedy. Okay.
Yeah, but if I had to go anywhere, I would go to General Sports.
You would.
I want to make one last comment. You were mentioning all of the people that have reached out and asked about players, and they've asked about schedules and rosters, and how can we get our hands on these rosters. That should also serve as a gentle reminder to people off the ice. I would be on my best behavior. If my kid was playing and there happened to be 3 USHL GMs in the building, I would not yell at the concession stand people. I would not throw things on the ice. I would not launch F-bombs from the stands repeatedly at officials and then claim free speech. I just wouldn't do certain things.
This sounds like a thorn. Sounds like a 360-year-old thorn.
It's not a
360-day-old thorn here.
It's not a thorn. It's just a gentle reminder that everybody has ears. They
Peter's
can hear
pulpit
you
right here. He's preaching.
I'm just throwing it out there. Nobody wants to deal with a headache.
Preach on. It's good. There's going to be one. I'm telling you right now, it's a tough Tough tournament to manage, but it's a good one.
When a person wearing a USHL or an NTDP jacket sidles up to Tony and crosses their arms and says, okay, I got a question about so-and-so. That can mean a couple of things. It can mean you're really good, or it can mean you're really good, but mom or dad is crazy. So
that's right. Well,
I would be on my best behavior.
Let's get to roses and thorns. I have a great rose to give. And I've given this kid all the love I could possibly give him. It's my buddy Tyler Hennon from Halleck, Minnesota. He's my golf partner in the World Celebrity Golf Tournament the last 2 years.
Yep.
We are the defending champions. Warroad, he's from Halleck. You cannot come from a much smaller town or a team with far lesser opportunities, and he and his brother Hayden have made the most of them. They're starring at Augustana already. He had his first college goal. So my rose goes to Tyler Hennon. Congratulations on your first goal. First of many for the young man from Halleck, Minnesota.
Congratulations, Tyler. Nice
Who's your
work.
rose?
I don't have a rose.
You don't have a rose?
We didn't do any hockey stuff.
Yeah, I know. You didn't know hockey stuff. I had plenty of hockey stuff.
I don't know. Maybe my rose goes to you for going to St. Cloud and watching college hockey. Amazing.
It was good. It was fun to go up there. It was fun. Great. It's different, though. The covering a college game, a men's and women's for that matter, is way different than high school because the buildings are so big.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk to the winning team like Boston College won, I found no access to the Boston College coaching staff or SID. No one would give me any media access to after the game. So how in the world am I going to get a quote about it? Thankfully, on the second game, I know that building over at University of St. Thomas like the back of my hand.
Yeah,
and I know
there's only one hallway.
And I know Garrett Raboyne very well because we've run camps together.
Oh, yeah.
So it was very easy to get a winning coach's quote. It would have been really easy to get Rico Blasi's had they won. But St. Thomas, it was a little tricky. So my thorn goes to college hockey's openness to the media is a little bit less than desired. I'll just say that.
Yeah, my thorn this week is also media related. Trying to get a hold of Sarah Fillier.
Nice. Calling her out.
Yeah, trying to get a hold of her. I've tried a couple of methods. And I go onto the New York Sirens website, and instead of listing a media contact, every pro team's got one. Everybody's got to go through the media guy or gal, right?
Yep.
Makes things easy. There is no media person listed for the New York Sirens. If there is, I'm just missing it, and I thoroughly apologize. But I think I ended up emailing like their corporate sponsorship
person
link.
No luck there, I bet.
Not yet. I don't know how often they have people.
It's tricky.
Have people answering the phones over there. Alrighty, thanks for roses and thorns. Appreciate that. We also appreciate all of our sponsors. You want to run through our sponsor list again?
Run them down. Red Balloon, pediatric urgent care, Map South Hockey, Breakaway Academy, and Peter's favorite sponsor of all time, General Sports.
How do you say General Sports in Spanish?
Oh, gosh, please.
La General Sports.
Deportes Generalmente.
There we go.
Is that actually how you say it?
I'll take it.
Wow, that's pretty good.
No, Generalmente means generally. That was the closest I could get to it with my limited knowledge of Spanish.
I bought it for sure.
Deportes is sports, though, so close enough.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We'll see everybody in Moorhead.
You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. You need to stay up out the streets if you can't take the heat. Cause it get cold